Good afternoon, class 11 children of biology group. Today we would be again looking at the second chapter as we continue with the topic of systematics and 5 kingdoms of life. And in this third video we would be looking at identification of species and use of keys, how to identify various species of organisms, whether plants or animals on the face of the earth. Now in the last video we studied about the 3 categories of classification. We studied about taxonomy and phylogeny and other biological sciences which help in classification of plants and animals. We also saw the guidelines required for classification, the taxonomic categories, hierarchy of taxa along with examples we saw last time. Now today in the identification of species, when we classify organisms, then the identification allows us for subsequent clarity of the species, to understand the nature and the morphology of the species that we are studying. For identification of species, a key is required. And what a key is, let us see. A key is a convenient method enabling a biologist to identify and name an organism. There are various kinds of diagnostic keys like dichotomous key. It is the simplest key made of pairs of statements called leads. If you look here, you see there are pairs of statements here. Now this pairs of statement is called leads, and leads are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. Now each lead deals with a particular observable characteristic. The paired statements of each lead should be contrasting, which means they should be mutually exclusive or they should be mutually opposite to each other. And by considering these in order, a large group of organisms may be broken down into progressively smaller groups until the unknown organism is identified at the lowest taxonomic group possible. Now I will come to an example about this. The characteristics used in keys should be readily observable. So this point is important in identification of species. The characteristics used in keys should be readily observable, morphological features, and may be qualitative or quantitative. For example, let us look at this example given here. Let us take following example to explain the identification of using taxonomic keys. Suppose we want to identify the following animals: a fish, frog, and snake, bird, bat and cat. First, we have to identify the distinctive features of each member of the group. We ask questions about them in such a way that only one of the 2 alternatives is possible. For instance, we should be able to say yes or no. Now look here, at the first question we ask, does it have external ears? The species or the organism that we are looking at, we ask a question, does it have external ears? Now the external ears is the feature of a mammal. So if yes, we go to the second. In second, we see, does it fly? It says yes. If it flies and it has got external ears, then we identify it as bat. Likewise, in the first one, if it does not have internal ears, then we say no to our question, and it says go to 3. So when we go to 3, then we see that does it fly? We ask another question. Yes, it flies, and we had seen earlier it has got no external ears, so it is a bird. Likewise, we see in the second one, does it fly? If it does not fly, then it is a cat. We identify it. Now here, now we see, does it fly in number 3? In this, if it does not fly, then no, we go to 4. In fourth, we will ask another question. Does it have limbs? If yes, it has got limbs, then it is a frog. If it does not have limbs, no, then we have to go to 5. At 5, what do we ask? Does it have gills? Yes, it has gills. So if it has got gills, then it is a fish. And then we see at the 5th one, does it have gills? No, it does not have gills. And we had also seen from 4th, does it have limbs? It does not have limbs. So then we go to 5. And here it is written, no, it does not have gills, neither it has got limbs. So the last species identified as a snake. So we see here, this is how identification takes place. We also see that documentation of taxonomic literature is done by scientists. In the science of taxonomy, we see there are different tools that are utilized for the study of the taxonomical groups of various animals. Taxonomical indexes, tools like taxonomical indexes, flora, manuals, monographs, and catalogs are some important means of recording descriptions. They help in correct identification of species. Now, let us see at one of the tools, taxonomic indexes. What are taxonomic indexes? Taxonomic indexes are the catalogs prepared, or they are the long descriptions of the species which are prepared to depict or to show a synoptical background or a historical background of the work done in the subject. So we see this taxonomic indexes is a tool. Then another is flora. Now what is a flora? A flora is a systematic enumeration of plant species occurring in a given region. And the floras are of immense value to conceive or to see the knowledge about the plants growing in a particular area. Likewise, we see manuals. What are manuals? A manual is a book that provides an inventory or a list of the flora, that means the different kinds of plants, and means of identifying of plants using descriptive keys. So that is how we use manuals. Then we have monograph. Monographs, they contain information on any one taxon or one group. It is a detailed treatment including all significant information of a morphologic or taxonomic nature. Then we see icons. The icon is the perfect natural picture of a plant. So we also collect pictures of plants so that we can use it for looking at the outer morphological details. Now let us look at glossary. What is glossary? It is an alphabetical list of difficult terms with their explanations. So this is about glossary. Now we will look at the utility of systematics. When we go in order to taxonomically classify the plants and animals, how we utilize it. Number one, taxonomy occupies central or the main position in biology because it helps in identification of species according to their different features. Second, the information gathered from taxonomic studies is fundamental, or we can say basic, to the scientific knowledge of flora or fauna resources of the world. Then the third aspect we see how we utilize the systematics, important for evaluation of natural resources like forest products and medicinal, agricultural, ornamental and food plants and animals, etc. So we identify these whether they are forest products, they are medicinal, or they can be agricultural, or can be ornamental, and the food plants and animals, etc. Now the fourth aspect of the utility, how it can be utilized in our day-to-day life. Taxonomist is a referee without whom workers of all branches of science cannot correctly identify their material. So every scientist bring the material to the taxonomist, who helps to find the characteristics, who helps to find the various structures, who helps to identify the exact kind of species or organism that material is. Now we will look at various classifications of organisms. From time to time, different types of classification of organisms has taken place, and they have been proposed by different people. Now the first one we see here is proposed by Aristotle. He proposed an idea of classification. Aristotle was the earliest to attempt classification of plants on basis of morphological features into trees, shrubs and herbs. Two kingdom classification. We see here the very first kind of classification, two kingdom system of classification. All living organisms were classified as either animals or as plants on the basis of their form and constitution. Animals were heterotrophs. They were feeding on complex organic substances, whereas plants, on the other hand, are autotrophs with a different nutritional mode because they synthesize their own food through photosynthesis. In the two kingdom classification, which we see here in figure 3, the two kingdoms majorly are kingdom Plantae, which we see here, and kingdom Animalia. Now, what does kingdom Animalia contain? It contains unicellular protozoans and multicellular metazoans, whereas in Plantae kingdom, it contains prokaryotes or primitive bacteria and eukaryotes or more modern kinds of photosynthetic plants and non-photosynthetic fungi. Unicellular and multicellular forms are all contained in Plantae. Now let us look at another system of classification, which is a three kingdom system of classification. We will look at this figure and understand this. Then why three kingdom classification came into being? Why was this classification used? It was easy to distinguish between plants and animals but information on microorganisms was very less. Major difficulty was in assigning bacteria, slime molds, and other unicellular organisms to one of the two kingdoms in above two kingdom of classification. So the problem of how to assign the proper kingdom to the bacteria, slime molds, and unicellular organisms, etc., we gave a third kingdom, and this third kingdom was known as Protista. This third kingdom was added by Ernest Haeckel in 1866. This third kingdom includes those organisms that can be differentiated from plants and animals by the lack of morphological specialization. So the three types we have here is Plantae, then we have Animalia, and the third kingdom is Protista. Now, in the third kingdom, Protista, we have two kinds of microorganisms. One is fungi, which was known to be more like Plantae, so they were put in Plantae. Then Euglena shows both characteristics of plants as well as animals, so this was microscopic. This was also put in kingdom Protista. Then we had Protozoa, which was more like animals, so this was put in kingdom Animalia, but this comes under Protista. Now all these kinds were eukaryotes, or they were modern, or they were the refined kind of microorganisms. On the other hand, we had microorganisms which were eubacteria and archaebacteria. And the eubacteria and archaebacteria microorganisms in the kingdom Protista came under prokaryotes. Now let us look at the four kingdom system of classification. In the four kingdom system of classification, we see that why this was utilized, why the four kingdom of classification was given. Protista kingdom was proposed by Haeckel, which includes the eukaryotic algae, fungi and protozoa, and prokaryotic bacteria and cyanobacteria, or the blue-green algae. The second thing which is there told by Haeckel was prokaryotes, or cellular structure is very different from other organisms in prokaryotes. Now let us differentiate between eukaryotes and prokaryotes. The eukaryotes, these possess a true nuclear membrane, or they possess a true nuclear membrane binding the nucleus which it contains. But in the prokaryotes, there was a lack of true membrane bound nucleus. In eukaryotes, we see the major part of the genome, or the genes, distributed on a set of chromosomes which replicate by mitosis. Whereas in prokaryotes, the DNA exists as a closed circular molecule in the cytoplasm. There are no distinct membrane-bound organelles in prokaryotes, or the primitive microorganisms. Now, due to the above differences between eukaryotes and prokaryotes, their inclusion in Protista is unsatisfactory. And this is an important turning point why a fourth kingdom of classification was added in the classification group. So H.F. Copeland in 1956, he proposed a four kingdom system of classification. What were the kingdoms that were there in his four kingdom classification? He had Monera or Mycota, he had Protoista, and then he had Plantae, or called Metaphyla, and then he had the fourth one, Animalia or Metazoa. So we see that these four kingdoms were included by Copeland. Now there are some facts about viruses which he talked about. The viruses are non-cellular organisms, and they differ from their organisms as they are incapable of self-replication. Why are they different from other organisms? Because viruses are incapable of self-replication. What is self-replication? That means again be able to replicate and to make another strand of the DNA or RNA, which is the hereditary material. They propagate only in living cells. They contain hereditary chemical material RNA or DNA. So we see here either DNA or RNA is the chemical material in all the viruses. They are non-living outside the host body. They are unable to replicate themselves outside the host body, and they become living microorganisms inside the host body. So the viruses are neither prokaryotes nor they are eukaryotes, and they deserve a special group. Now we see one example here of tobacco mosaic virus. It is a plant virus. TMV or tobacco mosaic virus is a plant virus which has RNA as hereditary material, and it has got protein on the outside wall. Now what were contained in the four kingdom classification that was given by Copeland? In Monera, prokaryotes, bacteria and cyanobacteria were contained. In Protista, we see eukaryotic organisms not having the characteristics of typical plants or animals, such as red and brown algae, fungi and protozoa were contained. Then in the third kingdom, Plantae, plants are contained, and according to Copeland, the fourth kingdom was Animalia, which contained all the multicellular animals. We see here all the multicellular animals, they were contained according to Copeland. So this is the end of today's video. The fourth